What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/All-NBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler. Legs, it could be the last day of the NBA, the 2025 NBA season. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good, man. It's a weird feeling because you just grind like this time of the year, right? Both of us, and it's all the travel and just how important these games are. So you're pouring so much into it, more requests to come in throughout the day, and that's all you're doing and focusing on, being away from your family, and then it's just over. And it's a weird feeling. But I will say this, Adam, like it feels different now than it used to, because it used to be literally that those finals would end that night, do my last hit, take off my IFB, and see you guys in the fall. And like literally, I used to joke that they'd have to find like SEAL Team 6. They could not find me in the off season if they needed something. I'm gone, man. I'm on the beach. I'm playing golf, family stuff. But that's not the case now, because I'm thinking like the draft is next week. Then I got days on TV for free agency. Then right after that, you're headed to Vegas for Summer League, right? And then finally, basically mid-July. So it's like a whole nother month after the finals. So yes, it's kind of bittersweet. You get a little bit almost nostalgic or sad every year when it's over, because it's so, it's so fun to cover something this big, but then it just goes away. Will it be tonight? I don't know, man. I'm not going to sit there and discount any home team for winning a game when they're desperate. I'm not going to think that, there's no way in hell Indiana can win this game tonight. If Haliburton is like less than 100%, it's over tonight. Maybe it will be. Maybe it'd be a 20-point OKC win. But I'm not going to sit here and automatically say there's no chance we get to Sunday. I don't think that. I think that would be selling Indiana short.
Yeah, I think so too. So we're going to start by previewing that and just talk about what we're looking for tonight. But we're going to have some fun stuff here later on in the show. We're going to talk about what we remember, or what will be the lasting memory of this year's playoffs. Not just the two teams in the finals, but kind of relive the storylines and talk about what we'll remember. We're also going to talk about the Lakers selling for $10 billion, Legs. $10 billion?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
We'll put a pin in it because we're going to get to that a little bit later on. And then Ace Bailey, because some weird stuff going on with him falling in draft boards and not working out. So we had a lot of stuff to get to, but we're going to start, of course, by previewing this one tonight. We don't know what the story is with Tyrese Haliburton at this very moment, at the time of recording. By all indications, game time decision. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? I mean, it feels like it'd be crazy for him not to play. But at the same time, if he does play, what are you going to get from him, and how does that alter it? So going in, just what's your top line thought about what you're thinking about ahead of Game 6?
It's that. I mean, it's what are we going to see? The fact that he's listed as a game time decision is kind of surprising based on the fact he finished the game. It wasn't like they carried him off the court or he couldn't go back in. He finished the game, and he's walking around perfectly fine yesterday. So I don't know why it would be a game time decision. I think he's going to play. He's going to start. And then I think it's up to Rick Carlisle how he wants to manage it based on how he looks. If he's out there and he's just basically another guy in a uniform taking up space because he's not a threat, I mean, if you're Rick Carlisle, you have to go in a different direction. You have to. You've got healthy guys on your bench. You've got a Benedict Mathurin over there. You've got a TJ McConnell over there. You've got guys that play guard or wing. And maybe they're not, certainly not, maybe not. They're certainly not the playmaker that Tyrese Haliburton is, or the threat when he gets it going as a scorer, but they're healthy and they can compete and they can attack, and they've had success in this series. So you're not dusting some guy off on the end of your bench. You know, you've even got Ben Shepherd over there. You're not dusting a guy off that hasn't played all year to plug a spot. You're talking about guys that are competitors. They've had success in the series. They've been major impact players for this team this year. And if Tyrese Haliburton's out there and it's obvious he can't get up the floor with any sort of pace, he can't turn the corner at all in a ball screen. Everything is lateral, sideline to sideline. He can't get a shot off, like on a step back. It doesn't take you that long to figure that out if you're Rick Carlisle. It doesn't take you that long to figure it out if you're OKC. And you got a serious problem if you're going to eat those minutes up with a guy that's a non-factor offensively. You could hide him defensively probably on a guy like Dort or whatever. You could probably do that, but that's not the point. The point is the other end of the floor. You're going to have a certain punch to your offense against this defense. So I'm thinking Rick Carlisle gives it, that first 7-8 minutes of the game. You got to make a determination what he looks like. Is he a factor in the game? If not, you have to go in a different direction.
Yeah. That is the big storyline because everything else changes. But I mean, here's the thing. Can they win if they don't have, if he gives you 20 minutes tonight, Tyrese Haliburton, 20 minutes, and they're just productive but not great? I mean, he could just do a little bit of stuff. Do you see a world where the Pacers can still get this done?
Yes, I do. And here's why I think it's possible. It's why it's not out of the realm of possibility when you get to this stage. Making shots, and I think Indiana's going to do everything they can to force perimeter shots tonight. I don't think they've completely gone in on that concept. I think they still think, because they've been a very good defensive team for several months. I still think they're believing we can contain the ball. We'll contain the ball at the point of attack with J-Dub and with SGA, and we'll be okay. Our normal rotations. That hasn't panned out. Those guys are really, really hurting you by being able to break down the defense initially. So I think tonight it's more of a all sellout mentality to the lane. Force kickouts. And the reason I say, Adam, I think that there's still a chance for Indiana, even if Haliburton is not effective, making shots in a closeout game for the Thunder, those are going to feel a little different tonight for some of those guys. And it comes down to if they don't make their share of threes, the way I expect Indiana to defend them, if those guys don't make a decent percentage of threes, and I'm talking about the Dorts and the Carusos and the Wiggins and the Wallaces of the world, those guys, if they don't do that, Isaiah Joe, then they've got a chance. Indiana has a chance. And it comes down to that. I don't know how Oklahoma City is going to shoot the ball tonight. Yeah, they can have a great night shooting. And if that's the case, yeah, this could be a 15, 18, 20-point win, and they cruise. I just know there's going to be a different feel to it, man. You're a game and a win away from a title, and it's going to feel different to some of those guys, I think, making those shots. And so that's why I give Indiana a chance, because they still have a lot of guys that can score on that team, a lot of guys that can shoot. If you take care of the ball, defend the paint, make those guys make threes with a hand up, that's your best strategy tonight.
What do you think? Do you think that the Pacers should do something radically different tonight? Is this something, especially if Haliburton is hobbled, is this something where you throw in, a lot more zone, or you mix up the one-on-one matchups that you open a game with, maybe even change your starting lineup? Do you think this game calls for something dramatic?
I would play more zone if I were Rick Carlisle. I would, just to keep the ball in front of you. Yeah, I would. Yeah. But having said that, Adam, I'll tell you this: most zones in the NBA are terrible. And if you don't play it a lot, which they don't, and now you're going to kind of slap it together in a couple of days between games in the finals and expect that to look good, I mean, that might be a reach. But at the same time, every team these guys have general understanding of a zone defense and what you're trying to accomplish, which is to keep the ball out of the lane. So if you go into it with that premise, and everybody has played zone at some point, even if you don't play it much with this team, and you've had a couple days to maybe go over it and practice some of the rotations on zone, because it requires much more communication than man-to-man. So you've got to work out some of those communications, because there's gray areas in a zone. Who's taking what? When a guy flashes, which guy has it, the top guy or the bottom guy on a flash? Because if both go, you're compromised. If nobody goes, they catch the ball in the middle, and you're broken down. It looks silly. So you have to work through that over a couple of days. It could be at least decent enough for stretches of games. I'm not talking about play a whole half. I mean, Miami's done that. They played almost a whole half of zone. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about splash it in for 4 or 5 possessions to give them something different to operate against, I don't think that's a bad idea at all. And I'm looking for that tonight. And if they don't do it, then he just doesn't believe they can execute it. I mean, to me, because that gives you another option to kind of keep them a little bit off balance, at least. And if you don't do it at all, it's because Rick Carlisle just either doesn't believe in zone or he doesn't think they can pull it off because they don't play it enough.
I mean, the Nuggets didn't really do that much zone this year, and they had success in it against Oklahoma City. I mean, they played more than Indiana, but they had success against Oklahoma City at it. So it is possible, and it's just a curveball. It's like throwing a knuckleball or a changeup or something in baseball. It's something different for the hitter to look at, and that might be what's needed. Here's another one I've seen thrown around on the internet, just some different people speculating. What about Siakam guarding J-Dub? And this is tough if Oklahoma City sticks with, which we assume they will. They're too big lineup to start. But Siakam asked to do a million different things right now for the team. But maybe with J-Dub being the difference maker in large part in these last two games, it's like, can we neutralize that and just see if that throws the rhythm off? What do you think about that one?
I think that's a solid idea. I like that as well. And I think that, your approach, if you're Siakam, is not to pressure up as much as you normally would on the guys he covers, because he guards a lot of 6'8", 6'10" guys that he can get up into them and they can't beat him with the first step. You don't want to risk that with Jalen Williams because you could pick up some cheap fouls or whatever it may be. But if you're forcing him to take mid-range and deep shots with a hand up over 6'10", it's not a bad idea. And I don't know that you need him to guard anybody else on the floor, really. You don't need him to guard Chet Holmgren or Isaiah Hartenstein or, their stable of wings that they have. There's two guys have to be kept under control. It's that simple. So why not put one of your best defenders with length on one of them? I don't think that's a bad approach at all.
Sir, what else for Indiana are you looking at, or what other things do you think they need to do tonight?
Well, listen, I mean, some of the things that just, you got to check boxes, right? First of all, you cannot turn the ball over, particularly early in the game. You can't give Jalen Williams slashing opportunities. I mean, the guy had 4 layups in the first 6 minutes of the game, 2 dunks, 2 layups in the first 6 minutes of the game. You wonder why a guy gets a 40-point night in a game 5. It's because he had 4 easy shots to start his night. Any talented scorer in the NBA gets 4 shots at the rim, basically uncontested. Your night's going to be pretty good at that point. So, and the turnovers triggered some of that. So just take care of the ball early. Make sure you get shots. Extra careful with the ball. That has to happen. You're not surviving that tonight. If Haliburton is limited, especially, you're lacking that punch. You're not overcoming another high turnover game. So you've got to take care of the turnovers. And then I'm looking at who are guys that can potentially dial it up for them. Like, who can give us more? Like, maybe substantially more on a given night than what they've given us. I'm not sure that's Nembhard anymore. I just don't know that Nembhard's going to pop off a 25-point game. I don't see that happening. Siakam's certainly capable on any night of giving you 30 plus. I think it's going to be required tonight. The other guy I look at has to be Mathurin.
I knew it.
It's got to be Mathurin. He's had 3 20-point games this postseason, and all of them have been at home. All of them have been at home.
Have they all been wins? Let me look it up. I have it right in front of me.
Look that up. I'm not sure. But when he does it, he gets to the line. So a favorable whistle will be nice, but he has to come into the game ultra aggressive. I mean, it's tough because he's not in rhythm. I mean, he's had really an up and down postseason, which is crazy because the guy had such a great regular season. Ended the year with an injury, though. Maybe that's affected him, but to me, that's where do you get the extra pop if you don't have Haliburton? It's got to come from Mathurin. That's the guy I think with the most upside. He averaged almost 17 points a game this year for the regular season, and he's capable. He had a big game in this series. It's got to be Mathurin, and he's got to get to the line maybe 10 times to kind of set up his night.
And he can't turn it over. I mean, that's the thing about him is he's kind of a polarized player in each direction. When he's good, he's really a value add. When he's bad, he's taking something off the table. I just looked it up. He's got 4 20-point games this playoff.
4.
They're 2-2 in those games, though. So a couple of them have come in losses.
But 1-0 in this series, right? 1-0 in this series.
And it was a loud one, right?
Yeah.
That was 27 points, and it felt like that was his win. So I agree with you. I think another guy, though, for me that I look at is Miles Turner. And I think OKC's done a really good job of making life difficult for him on both ends of the floor. But he is a guy that's capable of just hitting a couple threes, those pick and pop threes that open things up. And when you're at home, you need your guys to make your shots. And then two, just early on, you need to draw the defense out. You need to go on extended runs. And to do that, you need your role players and your center in particular to make some shots. So he's another guy that I'm not saying he needs to have a 20-point night, although it'd be nice. They could totally use it from him. But I do think he needs to have a good run. He needs to have a run, like the start of a run where it was up, Turner hit those 2 threes in a row, and now the Pacers are rolling.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him in terms of his confidence, but it's clearly shook because you can see when the ball's coming off his fingers. These aren't going in. And I don't know, does that flip? Can you flip that in one night? I guess any NBA player can, really. As long as you don't start passing shots up, and he's passed up a couple here. Not too many, but as long as you don't start doing that and you just, hey, man, I'm going to stick with it and hope my muscle memory kicks in again and I get a couple to go early and maybe it's going to be a different night for him because he was a major factor with his scoring in both the Milwaukee and Cleveland series. Not as much in the Knicks series, and that's where he started to kind of cool off with his three-point shooting, 31% in the Knicks series, 22% in this series. He's better than that. And all the other thing too, Adam, is, by the way, Miles Turner still, even though he's more of a perimeter-based player as his career's going on, he's still an elite shot blocker. He hasn't really been a factor with that either in this series. You think about all we're talking about with all of this stuff at the rim and these guys beating, people off the dribble and getting to the rim, particularly Jalen Williams. You haven't noticed Miles Turner back there very much at all. So if at least we're talking about Miles Turner after the game or during the game, they've got a chance tonight. He has to be a bigger profile in this game, and hopefully both ends, but if not, one or the other at least. And I think for them, probably even more important to make threes. And it's been a long time since he's made more than 2 in a game. You got to go back like 13, 14 games since he's made more than 2. And most of those games, he's made 1. It's got to be better, man. It's got to be better. It's all hands on deck tonight. No room for guys to be just awful with their shooting tonight. Everybody's got to contribute because I'm expecting Haliburton to be very limited.
Let's go to the other side. I mean, we talk a lot about what the Pacers can do because what they need to do to win is more narrow. Oklahoma City, I think, has way more outs to closing this thing out. But what are you looking for from them tonight?
Yeah, I think first of all they're gonna know pretty quickly, and even if they don't see it right off the bat, they're expecting Tyrese Haliburton to be limited. You're going to see, I think, that up the floor ball pressure.
Agreed. Yep.
Right. And that's what they're known for. But there are always other times they dial it up even more. I think you're going to see that 75 feet up the floor, guys getting picked up, make them work. And listen, even if Haliburton just jogs up the floor and he's not handling it, that's fine. Go wear out Nembhard. Go wear out TJ McConnell. Like, wear those guys out. And turn them, and by the time they get over half court, their 8 seconds have been eaten up off the clock, and get them into late clock situations. It's going to be very tough for them. So that's first. The ball pressure up the floor, turnovers just come organically with them because of the way they play. So they're going to force their share. But I think the ball pressure is paramount, and I think a key is going to be they've got to do a really good job at defending the three-point line tonight. You think about what Indiana's going to have if you don't have Haliburton. You're going to have nights from guys like Nesmith and Miles Turner and Nembhard. Like, those guys are going to have some force from the three-point line. Oklahoma City's got to be really good on their closeouts and not let guys get loose early where they feel like it's their night.
Yeah. We just talked about, Turner, maybe Nesmith, we didn't even mention, Mathurin. Though there's a few guys that Oklahoma City can have. On the Thunder side, I just feel like it's so many guys. They have so many options. Wiggins, Wallace, and Chet could have an abnormally big game. Caruso can make his shots. Dort can make his shots. So for me, I agree with you. It's pressure. It's make the game your game. But they just need one other guy, and they've had it pretty consistently throughout the playoffs. One other guy make shots in key moments tonight. And I'll be honest with you, Legs. I kind of see tonight as a blowout. And I'm not saying a wire-to-wire blowout. First quarter, it's a blowout. But I do see the Thunder being in control of this game late and being able to close it out in a comfortable fashion. So to me, when we talk about X factors, I just think Oklahoma City has 4 or 5 of them.
So you're talking at some point, hit them with that burst of
Yeah.
of stringing stops together. Maybe it's even a series of turnovers leads to open court stuff, leads to, getting easy stuff. And now you look up and maybe it's a 2-point game, early second quarter, and now it's 14,
Yeah.
before you get to that. You sounds like that's kind of what you're describing, something like that. And now if Indiana's, playing from behind in that situation, they're going to start to feel the enormity of the moment and getting closed out by this team. So you might be right. You might be right. And look, I expect Oklahoma City to win the series. I obviously still do. I am not going to be stunned if somehow Indiana wins this game. We're in the NBA Finals, man. They've already won twice. They have got a lot of toughness on their team.
For sure.
A lot of belief, man. They're not going to go away easily. But if the Mathurin factor is just too much for them to overcome, taking somebody that significant out of their offense, the guy that's really driving the entire thing, we'll find that out, I think. We'll know. I think maybe give it about a quarter and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're going to have a really good feel for who's going to win this game, no matter what the scores or situation is, because of the Mathurin factor. So we'll see how much that impacts these guys. But I think they're tough. They believe in each other. They got great chemistry. They won't go away easy, but it might be too much to overcome not having that guy.
You got any other final thoughts before we move on to some of our other topics here?
No, just like, sitting here thinking about and the things that everything's different as you prepare for a closeout game. Like the preparation, over at the arena on the part of the league and rehearsing the award, rehearsing, giving out the trophy and the post. It's just weird. It's just different. It just feels like, you're setting one team up to be put to bed.
Yeah.
And it's on their home court. So just this weird energy kind of in the air about that. But it's what you have to do, obviously. And even from a network standpoint, like we're doing it too. Like making sure we got everything covered and how we're going to, because it's our game. So how are we going to break it down after? And what does it mean? And how do you handle each team appropriately with your coverage and everything else? And I think the final thing for me, Adam, is just, if they pull it off tonight, if it's a game 7 and Oklahoma City eventually wins this title, I think clearly you start already thinking, even before this game's played, you start thinking about what kind of a run could we be ready to go on with this group? Yeah. With the way they are positioned and the way that this roster is constructed and the way that these guys play together and the defense they hit you with every night. Jalen Williams, where he has emerged and how we view him now as a number 2. I think any doubt's been erased with the way this guy's played in the postseason and on the biggest stage. So you start thinking about that, just Oklahoma City and how you really, describe them appropriately when this is all said and done, assuming that they're NBA champions at some point. What context do you give it going forward and what this could lead to? Because we all know it's hard to win. It's really hard. The windows to keep it together are short. And you just look at Denver, look at Boston. Nobody thought, hey, that's a one title group. And maybe it won't be, but I think we're both kind of surprised that, look like that'd be more. You just don't know what could happen. But this team looks positioned differently than all those teams before them. But their youth and the way they're constructed with their egos and with their defense, their team defense, they've done it the right way, man. And they're now here they are on the brink of bringing Oklahoma City its first title.
If Oklahoma City wins tonight, we will talk about that tomorrow. Just the feeling of which team was going to repeat and where, how do we feel about this team? But I will say you brought up an interesting point, which is they don't bring the Larry O'Brien to the arena until there's a closeout game, right? So this is the first time it'll be in the facility because you have to be ready for it in case it happens. And I saw this in Denver when Denver was in the finals. There are different setups. And the best example of this was that Heat versus Spurs game 6. Where they brought the ropes out because it's like, okay, game's over. We gotta prepare for the ceremony a little early. And then of course, Ray Allen hits that shot and all bets were off. But it is a thing it's impossible not to notice when the closeout game is there, that there's just different theatrics.
We were joking about it yesterday. I was over at the arena and we were talking about this exact topic and that exact game you're referencing. And it's not the only time it's happened either, but that's the most famous one because they're dead in the water until Ray Allen hits that shot. But we were joking because they kind of roll it out there. It's on this platform. It's got wheels and they roll it. And I was like, they're standing courtside, and all of a sudden they're rushing back to the service elevator to take that thing back up, because Ray Allen hit that shot, and these guys didn't know. They get it all polished up, and then they're like, oh my God, we got to get this out of sight. They don't want anybody to see it until it's time. But you feel it, in the arena. So wouldn't that be something, man? Like Indiana wipes out a 12-point deficit in the last 3 minutes of the game or something, and they got old Larry sitting there courtside ready to come onto the court. So we'll see, man. It's going to be, it's always an incredible amount of energy in the building for a night like this when a team is ready to potentially win a title, and particularly in this situation because you're talking about OKC hasn't won it since they've been in Oklahoma. Got to go back to the 70s for Seattle if you count that.
That doesn't count.
And then Indiana, not at all. So this is a even cooler kind of feeling in the air because this is going to be a first for these two teams.
All right, we're gonna. I just had my ad reads log out here, James. You're gonna have to send me the copy of the ad reads here as we get ready to take a break. Let's take a break. On the other side, we are going to talk about the sell of the Lakers that just happened, which is really, really an interesting thing, as well as the Ace Bailey not working out. So we'll get to all of that on the other side. First, let me tell you about the Hall of Fame app. I'm not kidding when I say this literally just logged me out, James. Are you able to come to the safety here? My ad read doc that I usually read just logged me out. I'll tell you about the Hall of Fame app, though. Here's what it is. Everybody makes parlay bets. Everybody tries to bet on different sports right now, and you hop on and you just go with your gut. You just go with your gut instinct saying, okay, I think I like this team. I think this guy's going to score a bunch of points. What the Hall of Fame app does is it creates statistics. It uses statistics to inform you about what bets you're thinking about. So if you are sitting here thinking -6.5 for OKC tonight in the finals, why don't I just lay down that bet right now and see what happens? It'll tell you what have they done over their previous games, how often has that number hit. Maybe you're trying to parlay it with different players. What does it look like if Haliburton doesn't play? You can put in all these different options and it'll spit out probabilities for you so you know whether you're making a bet that sounds, like it's likely to hit. It was founded by lifelong sports fans that just happen to be giant data nerds that graduated from Ivy League schools. You can finally have a leg up on Vegas by using historical data, matchup grades, legs correlation tool, and player performance insight. It's got a 4.9 rating on the App Store and 6,000 five-star reviews. And what's nice about it is you can make your bet in the Hall of Fame app or, set it up and then transfer it right over to your sports book of choice, which is a really nice feature. James and I both, we use it when we're trying to make parlays together. We'll get together and try to come up with something and we'll use it. It's a really nice tool for telling you whether or not the app agrees with the bet you're trying to make. So right now, for a limited time offer, our limited time only, our listeners can get a 7-day trial, but they also get 50% off of their first month when they use the code ALLNBA at checkout. Just download the Hall of Fame app on iOS or Android and visit HOF.com and enter the code ALLNBA and you're all set. Also want to tell you guys about FanDuel. It's the best place to find all your favorite player props. And now you can make the smarter play with performance trends. Once the game starts, that's when things get interesting. This might be your last chance to bet on the NBA tonight. So when the game gets going, even if you're late, maybe you got home from work a little late and the game already started, you can still get in on live prop bets, including same game parlays for a chance to win big. If you don't already have a FanDuel account, it's not too late to get in on the action. You get started with $200 in bonus bets. If your first $5 bet wins, just visit FanDuel.com/AllNBA to join today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. James, do you have the disclaimer for me? It's not on there on the doc. I have to get through this one.
Oh, yep, I sure do here. Disclaimer: must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit MD Gambling Help in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
A round of applause for super producer James here filling in. There you go. You can bring us back. Legs, that ever happened to you? I have Google Docs open. This is where all my things are. And just out of nowhere, it logged me out. Just right as I turned to the ad read. So I had
Yeah. I've had that stuff happen. By the way, I just want to say what James just did. Every now and then in with the Heat, when they had the big three together, Chris Bosh would go for 30, right?
Right, every now and then, there it is.
Chris Bosh just went for 30, man.
Everybody give a round of applause for
James earn that check. I love it. Yes.
I don't know if you saw the news last night, Legs, but the Los Angeles Lakers, fresh off of trading for Luka Doncic, just sold from the Buss family, where it's been for decades, to, is it Jeff Weltman? I have to log into all my accounts again.
The guy that bought it?
$10 billion. $10 billion is the big note here. The Celtics and Lakers sold in the same year, and the prices for these franchises, what was it, $4 billion for the Clippers? Was that what it was, or $2 billion? I can't even remember.
It was $6 billion for the Celtics, right? 6.1.
Six for the Celtics. But I'm saying about 10 years ago, the Clippers, when they sold to Ballmer, it was like $2 or $4 billion. I don't remember. And it was like, oh my God, we're selling teams for billions now, not millions. Well, here we are at 10 billion, just a decade later.
If my math is right, I just did it real quickly on my calculator. Jerry Buss bought the team in 1979, so it's been in the Buss family since then. And for what he paid at that time, which was $67 million, you could buy 149 Lakers teams at that price for what he just paid, Mark Walter. So from 67 million to 10 billion. The numbers, it's all just silly numbers to me, and I don't understand any of it. I barely got outbid by this guy. I put a bid in as well, and I didn't quite get it. I didn't even get a call back, Adam, so I don't know. I guess my number wasn't what they were looking for. This guy's got his hand in everything, man. He's got ownership stakes in the Dodgers, the Sparks, professional soccer teams, bunch of financial services companies with tremendous amount of wealth. So we'll see. I don't know what it ultimately means. Magic Johnson was just going on and on about the sale yesterday, saying what great hands the franchise would be in. Yeah, I mean, he was raving about this guy and saying what great hands the Lakers are in now, and he's going to commit all resources to making sure that the Lakers contend year after year. So it sounds like a win. Sounds like a good thing for the franchise that they found someone very capable to sell this team to. And I know people maybe today are just getting blown away by the money. I don't know anymore. I don't know money. Trying to understand and comprehend the context of money anymore is very difficult for me in professional sports. It is. With what players make, with what teams go for, I don't know, man. With the price of a ticket to a game, all of it, none of it makes sense to me. So I don't know about that. The $10 billion, but it's the Lakers brand, man, and that's apparently the most valuable brand in all of professional sports.
Well, I think you look at Cowboys, Yankees, Dodgers, Lakers, maybe Knicks. Like those are the teams that stand above, everybody else in their class. And so the Lakers, obviously the biggest team in the NBA, the biggest brand in the NBA. They've had here's how I feel about it. First of all, Dr. Buss was a phenomenal owner, a visionary. I mean, well-known, built dynasties with an S at the end. And not only dynasties, but also turned the Lakers into the brand that we know today. He really leveraged the fame of Hollywood and LA and everything else. He was a great owner. We passed on to the kids. They did manage to get that other championship in 2020. But the joke was always it's a mom and pop shop for owning this huge franchise. They actually weren't that cash rich, cash flush as some of these other owners. And in the last 10 years, as the prices have gone up, we've seen some owners enter the fray who are not guys with $1 or $2 billion, but guys with 20, 30, 60, 80 billion dollars. And so now it's almost like you're at a disadvantage if you are a cash poor owner. I look at the Lakers and I say they always have had advantages of market, of just players wanting to go there and be part of that team, the history, all of those different, they've had these advantages. But now you get an owner with unlimitedly deep pockets, and you get a guy who seems to be very good at this. What he's done with the Dodgers, or what that group has done with the Dodgers now, they have created sustained success and had vision and built this institution. I look at it and I say, I think this has got to be great. I mean, there's chances it could go wrong, but I have to imagine this positions the Lakers to really return to the Dr. Bus days where they have every advantage in the book now that you can imagine.
Agreed.
Luka Doncic.
Agreed. Because I mean, you think about one thing that kind of handcuffs certain organizations is there's mandates that come from ownership of some of these teams. Like, we're not going into the luxury tax. And they have to, and so now the front office people have to operate around that mandate, and it's not easy particularly with what the league has created with the second apron. And are you willing to go all in, no matter what it takes, to retain players, to go get a free agent when you have to have it, and go into the luxury tax to try to win? It sounds like, by all accounts, this guy will do whatever it takes. That doesn't mean it's always smart money. Football team, Dan Gilbert owned my football team for all those years. Dan Gilbert was Cleveland. Dan Snyder owned the Washington Redskins / Commanders, and for years and years and years. And every offseason, he threw money at free agents, but they were like older guys that were household names that were like kind of washed up, and they bring him in, overpay him. So it's not always smart money. So as long as it's smart money and you're spending it, if you're willing to spend it to go into the luxury tax, it's a good thing. So, like, again, it's a good thing for the Lakers. And so, I saw one comment, this is bad for the league. I just couldn't disagree more. I mean, I don't know why it would be bad for the league. They've had the same family has had the team for 46 years. I mean, it's a matter of time. At some point, they're going to sell it unless they find somebody in the pipeline, in their family that they entrust to take over the day-to-day operations of ownership. Then sell, man. Sell. Cash out. I don't have a problem with it. It sounds like this guy really has it together. Has got his hand in a lot of successful ventures. Sounds like a good thing to me.
Well, I think it's going to be good for the Lakers. The one thing I will say is part of this new CBA, the league is evolving. I mean, if you go back 30 years to all professional sports, you have like these Mavericks owners, and it's almost like the Wild West. Like, oh yeah, he won the he was able to purchase the Kansas City Chiefs by winning a poker game, or like this. These funny stories. Now these owners are getting richer and richer and richer, and there's no tax you could give them that is going to penalize. Like Ballmer, I have to pay $70 million in tax. I spend that on breakfast. So they create this new CBA where now there's other things. You lose draft picks. You can't make trades, right? You have to do all these other things. So I think having the deep pockets now, this new owner, doesn't actually help the Lakers in that way. Where it helps them is there are things you don't have a salary cap for, a luxury tax for. And those are things like facilities. Those are things like your scouting department and how you build up and market your team and how you you attract players. And by the way, James, do we have this from yesterday? It was discussed that the Memphis Grizzlies, that Bane had some comment about how he visited some other team's facility and he was jealous because their training facility. Do you have this from yesterday handy? This is the Memphis Grizzlies training facility. Look at this court. First of all, the logo, a logo 3 is almost not impressive in this facility. And he was talking about how Orlando has that new state-of-the-art one. I just look at the Lakers and I say, this is the area where I think they can really start to win on. But I'm curious how important you think these things are. When you see a facility like that, and then you see some of the facilities that other teams have to give their players, how big of an impact do you think these things make?
It matters. It matters, man. And particularly now, every teams are constantly building new ones, and players see them, they hear about them, and now the next team's got to up that. So if you're with one of these franchises that hasn't updated it, haven't sold it, haven't changed their facilities in quite a while, and it almost seems like a little bit archaic, where you're at. Certainly all of it's better than the stuff we had when I played, but so all of it looks pretty good to me. But when you see some of these facilities, it matters, but it's definitely not the most important thing. First and foremost, and I don't even know, in some cases it's money, of course, that's going to be a big factor. Outside of that, it's a lot of times, I think more than anything else, is who you're playing with. Like, who are your teammates? There are guys there that you want to play with. Who you're playing for matters a lot in terms of your head coach. What you're playing for really matters. Are we playing for a championship or not? Those things all factor in. And every guy's got a different weight that they put on all of these things. But clearly, yes, the facilities, the little extras, the attention to detail that organizations pay for their players. And Mark Cuban was one of the first guys to do this in Dallas. And you would talk to any player. I played for the Mavericks for 2 years. the guy I played for, sold the team to Mark Cuban. So I didn't get to play when he was the owner, but like right off the bat, you would talk to players and you're like, man, we got this, and this, all these little details that each player was getting, the amenities in the locker room, the charters, all that stuff, and how they cleaned up all these little things. It all matters to guys. To me, there's a checklist of things, and it's just one thing. It's certainly not the most important, but it is an item that guys consider. They want to know because they hear about this stuff from other players and how good it is at their facility. Some of these guys practically, they don't even want to go home. It's like so nice at the facility. Like they'd rather just stay there and get pampered. So yeah, it matters. It's one of the things on the list that players have for their priorities.
Is there any part of you that just kind of raises an eyebrow? Luka Doncic gets traded in the middle of the night. 3 months later, the Lakers sell for $10 billion. I guess I shouldn't put you in this spot. I don't want to put you in this spot. Just blink, Legs. Just blink. But I tell you, for me,
something tells me you're getting private text messages from James right now. Okay. James, who's probably watched every JFK documentary ever made.
For sure.
Right? There's no question. The conspiracy theorist, James,
second shooter,
out there wondering about this stuff. No, I haven't given it a second thought, man. I don't buy into the conspiracies around the league with regard to the draft lottery, with regard to officiating, with regard to this. I don't.
Leave it to me then. I'll believe in it for the both of us.
That's fine. You can. You're not getting me on the record with all that stuff. Absolutely not.
Trying to get you there. You know what I find interesting? Here's a philosophical question I have for you, just about the nature of how fans access the NBA these days. The big campaign in the 90s was be like Mike. I want to be like Mike. I feel like fans these days, at least the online ones, more put themselves in the role of general manager than the player. It's like people like talking about the league as I would do this if I was in charge. And I just remember growing up, everybody was like, if I was Mike, if I was doing this is what I would do as a player. I'm curious what you would think. Forget the money part of this, because I think we'd all choose having $10 billion. Would you personally rather be a coach, a GM, or an owner? Again, throw the money part out, just in terms of your influence on the league and how what you would most want to do in terms of constructing a team.
Man, oh man. Well, the competitive nature of his coaching, and I pursued that for a while. So that's the competitive thing. You're directly contributing every night when you're a coach. Like your impact and influence more significant than anywhere else. But the GM role, putting a team together and then going sitting in your box all night, and you can be as nondescript as you want to be. You're not taking all of the abuse like directly from the fans as you do when you're a head coach and you're right there. So there's something to be said for that. I'm sure it's a little bit less stressful than being a head coach and what you got to do every night to get your adrenaline going to co-coach that game and try to come up with the right answers. The GM is a very interesting thing to me, and where you have incredible amount of influence, because you look at a guy like Presti and what he's done with this roster and how much credit he gets for that. So you can really position your head coach, assuming you hire the right guy, for success. And so your impact is absolutely huge without necessarily the day-to-day stress of being down on the court and dealing with all of that. That might be the way to go, man. But you're right. I mean, obviously, if you to be an owner means you got that kind of cash, yeah, maybe that's the way to go.
Let's move on now to Ace Bailey here, because he was like the consensus third pick in the draft for a really long time. But something weird's going on in his pre-draft process here. He has not worked out for a team. And oftentimes when players do this, agents have advised them, hey, we don't want you to wind up there. And that's been the rumor. The third pick is the 76ers. They're in win now mode. Is he a guy that could use 2 or 3 years on a bad team where he's the number one guy and just gets a little, to work out and try to rise to the level of star? But he's not working out for anybody. This is a really weird one. What do you make of it? And is it a red flag?
Yeah, for me it is. I that's just how I would view it. Like, I don't know what the reasoning is. No one's giving any reasoning. He hasn't worked out for anybody, and it looked like locked in to go visit the Sixers, who are genuinely considering him with the third pick. Hell, he might even have been considered for the second pick. It looks like a consensus number one for Cooper Flagg. So who knows what the reasoning is? And you heard Fran Fraschilla was with us yesterday, and he was raving about him. He was saying, like, there's nothing there to cause concern. He wasn't talking about this because this news came after that when Fran was on the show. And I wish it had happened yesterday morning. We could have asked Fran about it. What's going on with that? Like, why would the guy not work out? Yeah, they get advice from different people, their agents and whatever. But for me, look, you're not going to get hurt. So it's like you're just in a gym. You go meet, you have dinner with the executives. Typically the way these things go, you fly in, you go to dinner, you meet with them. They get to kind of pick at you in terms of getting a gauge for your personality and your competitiveness and your demeanor and your leadership and like your work ethic. Like, just do a conversation, have a nice steak dinner, go to bed at the hotel, get up the next day, go to the gym, and go through like an hour and a half workout at most. Sometimes it's just you. Sometimes they have guys in there. You're playing some one-on-one and you're showing different things. You've got the Sixers, your development team would be there, putting him through some drills, letting the Sixers look at his versatility and complete offensive package. It's really, so for me to not take that on, what are you trying to like protect? I don't understand, because if you are really that guy, don't you go and actually, you know what I would do? I'd go work out for all of them. Dallas might not invite anybody else. Maybe they already know, right?
Yeah.
Work out for all. You know what I would want to do? I'd want to let them know, you know what? I should be the number one pick in this draft. And here's why. And go show them. Go show them, man. But so it's a little bit of a red flag for me. Yeah, I don't. And look, like, again, he's a young man and he's obviously getting this influence is coming from his agent. It's coming from people in his inner circle. Who knows? Maybe his college coach. He's getting this information and he's going with it because he doesn't know better. So he's like, I'm going to let you guys kind of tell me what to do here. And I don't think the messaging is great about who you are and what you aim to do when you get to the league. Just go work out and show everybody what you're about. And at this point, if 3 is as high as you can go cement that with the Sixers and walk out of that gym and go, I know they're not picking anybody besides me now.
Yeah, but if it were you and you were in his spot, consensus number 3 pick are very likely, but you didn't want to go to the team that had 3. Maybe you didn't want to go to the team that had 4 either, but there's a team, 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there that you really want to go to. And they said, hey, if you're available, we're definitely taking you. Would you do that? Because it almost is like he's sabotaging his own draft stock to try. I mean, this is the leading theory, right? That he's sabotaging it to get to a team he wants. But it's a risky play. So is that something you personally would do if you were in that spot?
No, no, I wouldn't. I just know my own mentality. Obviously, I was never good enough to be considered to be picked that high in a draft. So I get it. So people, might think, well, what do you know about it? You weren't a lottery pick. I get it. I just know what I'm made of. I just know I just take on a challenge. And if that's what I'm supposed to go do, I'm going to go do it. And my goal is I'm going to go blow your minds with how impressive this workout is. That's what I'm going to do so that you're more certain as a franchise. Now, look, if he flat out doesn't want to play for the Sixers for whatever reason, and you're trying to avoid that, okay. But guess what? They still might pick you. Yeah. And you still kind of started off on a bad foot a little bit in my mind.
That's true. That's true. It says you can't. Yeah. I mean, I do wonder this.
What they do. Yeah.
I wonder this. Carmelo went 3rd back in 2003, and the Pistons, who were really good at that time, had the number 2 pick. And I know people used to wonder what would happen to Carmelo if he went to that Pistons team. You think, oh, it's a good team, but maybe he doesn't get a chance to say, hey, you're on the bench. You got to fit into us. You're not giving you the ball. And maybe Ace Bailey sees a similar situation in Philadelphia where it's like, yeah, man, I want to go and spread my wings.
Well, there's 2 ways to look at it for these guys, and every situation is different. Some guys, it's better to get on the court right away. But you might be in a losing environment, and that's not necessarily great.
That's for early development. Also bad.
It's just not. It could be toxicity in that locker room. It could be just not a winning culture or a winning work ethic, whatever it may be, and that's not a great influence on a young player. So I think the best scenario is minutes. Substantial minutes, whether that's a starter or a top rotational player like top 8. So you're getting 20 minutes a night at minimum. Maybe you're starting on a competitive team, and maybe your numbers are sacrificed of what you could potentially do. But let's say you're still a double-digit scorer, whatever it may be. That's the best case scenario, because you're also playing in meaningful games every night. You're playing for stuff that matters, potentially playing in the postseason immediately, like year one. That's really how you cement your reputation in this league, is those moments. That's how you get viewed a certain way coming up for your first time as a free agent. So to me, that's the best scenario. Cooper Flagg's going to get that. I think he's going to be a starter from day one on a team that's expected to be a relevant playoff team in the Western Conference. That's the best case scenario. That's what I'd be looking for, rather than just starting and putting up numbers in a bad team. I don't know that necessarily leads to anything better for you down the road.
All right, our last thing we're going to do here, presented by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You can get started with 150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllNBA. It's time for shout-outs. And, Legs, I made a list of what I'm going to remember most about this year's playoffs. And you could add to it, or you could even take away. But number one thing I think I'll remember, assuming this goes the way I think over the next game or two, I'm going to remember Oklahoma City's defense. It just was at its best. It was overwhelming, overpowering. It was impressive to watch. I'll remember Alex Caruso in particular and all the different types of players he guarded and the impact he made. I'll remember Haliburton's game winners and just how many of them there were. Yeah. He had so many big plays throughout the playoffs. I'll remember Cade Cunningham's breakout playoffs, because I think he was one of the big storylines of the first round. And then I'll remember Aaron Gordon's game winners. He had two of them. He had the tip and dunk against the Clippers, and he had the game winner against the Thunder in game one. So I think those are the two, that's the list of things I'm going to most remember. Did I miss anything?
I think a couple more. I think big comebacks.
Yep.
Like the two Knicks Celtics games, 1 and 2. And you two 20-point deficits in a row on the road against the Boston Celtics that the Knicks erased, that set up them winning that series. Would definitely be one. And then, of course, the one that the Pacers had against the Knicks. Erasing that deficit in that short a period of time, late 9 points inside of a minute to go to get, and the incredible, to tie it into your Haliburton point, that incredible bounce that he got to force that game to overtime. They win the game, sets up that series, and now the Pacers end up in the NBA Finals. So I think the big comebacks, hey, Boston holds on to 2 20-point leads at home, which isn't asking a lot. You're the Boston Celtics, and you're at home up 20. They're winning that series if they win those 2 games. And you gotta, who knows? And then they play the Pacers. So that leads to the next point. Another thing to remember about these playoffs, the Jason Tatum injury. Jason Tatum injury, you're always going to remember him going down on a night he was playing out of his mind. They were going to lose that game anyway, but 41 points, I believe, in that game, and he plants and he tears his Achilles, and now a whole year is going to be taken away from Jason Tatum, and what that does to the curve of the Boston Celtics and this team that we thought could put together several titles potentially. They might only end up with one. A lot of it depending on his recovery. So there's a few other moments, and one more, I would say. The restoration of the Detroit Pistons to the Eastern Conference landscape.
Yeah.
Because the regular season gave us some of that, but then the way that they played against the Knicks and how hard that series was for the Knicks to win. And again, another big comeback in that one. The Pistons blowing game 1 against the Knicks in the Garden. Who knows, man? The Pistons might have won that series if they don't blow that lead late with all those turnovers against the Knicks. So the comebacks were a big part of this postseason. Unlikely outcomes based on the circumstances of the game and how that affected who won those series. And the Pistons, I think, are back on the map with this great player and a culture they're building. And so there's just a few more I'd add to that list.
Yep, I think those are the memorable things. Hit that outro music there, James. Let us know in the comments, though, because I'm curious what other people are going to remember most when you look back on it. A lot of things fade a year, 3-5 years from now, but we always remember something from each season, and I'm curious what people will be left with the lasting impression. Legs, we got the game tonight. It could all come to a close, but we will be back tomorrow morning. What do you got on the docket? Any other ESPN hits today?
I got a bunch. I'm actually going to go over right now and do a little presentation for the NBA Entertainment on film breakdown, which I'm looking forward to. It's kind of honor to be asked to do it. I was picked this year, so I'm really excited to go over and do that. And then pregame Sports Center, setting up the game, pregame ESPN Radio, and then, of course, postgame with SVP and potentially an award ceremony that we're going to be covering as well. We'll see.
Well, there you go. Everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. We are back tomorrow. No matter what happens, we will be giving you a show reacting to Game 6. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that like button for us. We'll see you tomorrow.
All silly like the mayor.